I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network, and folks, it's official. The head of Donald Trump's Election Day operations from 2020, Michael Roman is his name, has officially flipped on Donald Trump and is providing a voluntary proffer agreement style testimony with Special Counsel Jack Smith, essentially agreeing to provide Special Counsel Jack Smith and Jack Smith's team with all of the information that he has within his knowledge, possession, custody, and control about any potential crimes that he observed Donald Trump commit, as well as crimes committed by other co-conspirators of Donald Trump. This happened the same week that we learned about Rudy Giuliani also agreeing to cooperate with Special Counsel Jack Smith, entering into a proffer agreement as well. We certainly believe that Donald Trump's former chief of staff, Mark Meadows, has entered into a proffer agreement with Special Counsel Jack Smith and has agreed to testify as well against Donald Trump and has provided information to Special Counsel Jack Smith and his team. Just to remind you what a proffer agreement is, it's where either a criminal defendant or a target of a criminal investigation by a prosecutor agrees to sit and have a meeting with the prosecutors investigating their crimes and agrees that they can't hold back any information at all. They have to answer every single question that is asked by the prosecutor. If they omit any facts, if they don't tell the entire truth, they can then be prosecuted for all of the things that they say during the proffer session, which is why it is a risky move if the person's not going to tell the complete truth. But one of the things that usually comes along with a proffer agreement is a limited immunity whereby the individual who is participating in the proffer session with the government, with the prosecutors, gets immunized for the statements that they make during the time they are being interviewed by the prosecutors. However, if the prosecutors have independent knowledge of that individual's crimes, they can still be charged with that. If the individual, in this case Michael Roman, is determined to have lied to prosecutors during the proffer session, you could be charged with perjury for lying during the proffer session or for otherwise providing false information to federal prosecutors, and otherwise the information that is derived from the testimony that's given in the proffer session, as well as the statements made, would otherwise be immunized. So this is big that Michael Roman has flipped. And Michael Roman, you may recall, was the head of Election Day operations and was involved in the fake elector scheme. He was really Trump's designated person in the fake elector scheme. This is whereby MAGA Republican leaders loyal to Donald Trump agreed to, in various states across the country, agreed that they would submit their names as fraudulent or phony electors on fake electoral certificates. So in states where President Biden actually won those states, so was entitled to the electoral votes for those states to be counted on January 6th, the plan by Trump and by Michael Roman, who was the one who ultimately executed the plan, but it was also heavily pushed by people like John Eastman and Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani and perhaps people like Boris Epshteyn as well, who Roman was in close communication with. The whole idea of this plan was these individuals would submit fake electors, have former Vice President Pence, then Vice President Pence, count the fake electors on January 6th and say, aha, looks like this is the real electoral certificate. I'm going to ignore the real one that's being submitted to me by the Secretary of State, which says Joe Biden wins. I'll ignore that. Instead, we'll take the fake elector certificates. And so Roman was in charge of coordinating that with all of the fake electors. So Roman flipping on Donald Trump is massively important. If you are a lawyer who was a co-conspirator in this fake electoral plot, which, by the way, It's a criminal plot. You're submitting phony or fraudulent documents, forgeries, basically claiming Trump won when Biden actually won the state. So if you are a lawyer, co-conspirator, if you are anybody who was involved in that, if you are a fake elector, you must be terrified right now that Michael Roman has agreed to cooperate with Special Counsel Jack Smith and has offered all of the information he knows in this proffer session. As I said at top, Roman cooperating, Meadows cooperating. You got former Vice President Pence cooperating and providing testimony. You got Rudy Giuliani cooperating and many, many other people cooperating with Special Counsel Jack Smith. You may remember our report from last week based on a New York Times article which talked about how Michael Roman was in talks and was negotiating this proffer agreement. And now we know that proffer agreement was negotiated, that Michael Roman has agreed and has done this interview with Special Counsel Jack Smith to provide all of the information regarding Trump's crimes relating to the fake elector scheme. This is how New York Times described it last week. It said, Roman did much of the legwork in putting together the fake elector plan and in finding ways to challenge Trump's loss in several key battleground states, according to emails reviewed last summer by the Times. Roman, the email show, coordinated with several other lawyers and aides to Trump in seeking to assemble support to create false slates of electors in states like Georgia, Arizona, Michigan, and Nevada. Among those with whom Roman worked closely, the email showed were Boris Epshteyn, a lawyer and political advisor on the campaign who has since served as something like Trump's in-house counsel, Jenna Ellis, another lawyer who advised Trump after his defeat to Biden on how to challenge election results. The emails reviewed by the New York Times showed Roman and others discussing options to try to prevent Mr. Biden from being certified as the winner of the election. He reported details of their activities to Rudy Giuliani, Trump's former personal attorney who championed Trump's baseless claims of widespread election fraud. Even some of those connected to efforts to keep Trump in office appear to acknowledge the electors' plan was legally dubious. Quote, "We would just be sending in fake electoral votes to Pence so that someone in Congress can make an objection when they start counting votes and start arguing that the fake vote should be counted." Jack Wilenchik, a Phoenix-based lawyer who was helping to organize the fake electors in Arizona, wrote in December 2022 Boris Epshteyn. In a follow-up email, Mr. Wilenchik wrote that calling them alternate electors was probably better than calling them fake electors, adding a smiley face emoji to the email. Just how disgusting can you be? So just so you remember, there are kind of four main prongs to Special Counsel Jack Smith's criminal investigation into Donald Trump's election interference. Just so you're not confused, right? There are two main criminal investigations by Special Counsel Jack Smith into Donald Trump as part of his appointment. One has already led to an indictment of Donald Trump. There may be a superseding indictment and more charges brought there. But Special Counsel Jack Smith investigated and still is investigating Trump's willful retention of national defense information, his theft of classified records, obstruction of justice, making false statements, and conspiracy. Trump hiding these documents at Mar-a-Lago, Bedminster, and elsewhere. Trump was indicted in early June and arraigned shortly thereafter. That criminal case is proceeding in federal court in the Southern District of Florida. Case one. The other criminal investigation, a case has not been filed yet. It's still in an investigatory posture, although we expect indictments to hit in late August, early September, is Special Counsel Jack Smith's investigation into Trump and Trump's co-conspirators, election interference, Trump's conduct on January 6th, the insurrection and related to the insurrection. So four prongs there. One, the day of the insurrection itself. Donald Trump aiding and abetting the insurrection, which is obstructing an official proceeding, perhaps even a charge of seditious conspiracy. Recall the terrorist groups like the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers, their leaders have already been convicted of seditious conspiracy, and their defense at trial was, you should be prosecuting Trump. Trump told us to do this, not us. So if they were convicted of seditious conspiracy and they were testifying and their lawyer's defense was, Trump told us to do it, that's why it was critical to build the case the way the Department of Justice did, how Merrick Garland has handled it, albeit slow. That build is important for the day of January 6th insurrection. Obstruction of official proceeding carries 20 years in prison, as well as seditious conspiracy potential charges. So that's prong one. Prong two, right here, fake elector scheme, which I described. Michael Roman's cooperating. Rudy Giuliani's cooperating. Fraudulent, phony, false electoral certificates. Prong three, money laundering, wire fraud, campaign finance violations. This is Trump and his campaign and his political action groups making false statements about the 2020 election, knowingly false statements to raise money and raise tens of millions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars, lying to people about where the money was going. That's the wire fraud, money laundering, and campaign finance prong. And then the other prong is the threats against state and local election officials. For example, Trump threatening Brad Raffensperger, find me 11,780 votes, or else very bad things are going to happen to you, Brad. Special Counsel Jack Smith recently held a meeting with Brad Raffensperger in Atlanta. Raffensperger, Republican Secretary of State of Georgia, is cooperating with Jack Smith. So that's the lay of the land. Lots of cooperation here with witnesses and individuals who themselves could potentially be indicted. With Special Counsel Jack Smith, expect an explosive indictment when it is brought by Special Counsel Jack Smith. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 1.5 million subscribers thanks to your awesome support. Check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch, and wherever you get audio podcasts, make sure you subscribe to the MeidasTouch podcast. It is free. Hit subscribe on our YouTube channel. Help us get to 1.5 million subscribers. Have an excellent day.
At MeidasTouch, we are unapologetically pro-democracy, and we demand justice and accountability. That's why we're spreading our message to Convict 45. That's right, gear up right now with your Convict 45 tees and pins at store.meidastouch.com. That's store.meidastouch.com.